Honored to have you. Fantastic. Spencer, brand new. Welcome. Awesome. All right. Very cool. So we only have about 20%, maybe even a little bit less, of the total audience here tonight that was here last week. So I'm going to make a request here tonight as we all sit together before we kick off class. I'd like to invite you to attend every week for the next 6 weeks. And I'll tell you why. And I hope you can say yes. I hope you can make a commitment. I hope at the end of tonight's class, you'll want to make that commitment. I'm really excited to get to be with you all for the next 6 weeks. So I'd really like you to come back. And every week, I plan to build on the class from the week before. So for those of you that this is your first class, you're just getting here, don't worry. I'll explain what it is that we do. I'll explain what this class is. I'll give you plenty of explanation. For those of you, and if you didn't get to watch last week's, I'll give you a video. Donna and everybody else, I'll be recording all of them, and I'll make them available to you all in our Real Estate 101 workplace group. So I'm recording tonight's session right now. Perfect. All right, everybody. Well, it is the top of the hour, and I have a jam-packed slide deck for you tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and kick this thing off. I'm going to drop a link to tonight's slides in the chat box for you. The reason I do that is so that you can either A, follow along with me as we go. If you click on that link, it'll open up in your web browser. Or B, you cannot follow along during the class. You can take notes, you can listen, you can just sit back and enjoy, and then you can go back later and revisit the slide deck. And the other thing that I'll say is during tonight's session, if I drop any links in the chat box or I put something in there and you want to ask me again for it at the end, just go ahead and wait till Q&A and ask me for the link and I will share it with you all. And if you're listening in on the phone tonight, eXp World Intercom app, just shoot me a workplace chat and I will be able to share anything you ask for via workplace chat. It may take me a couple of days, but please be persistent. All right, everybody. Welcome to Real Estate 101. We do this class every single Sunday night except for holiday weeks. Every single Sunday, you're usually going to get something a little bit different, with the exception of the upcoming 6 Sundays. I was so excited to teach last Sunday, had such a good time, was so inspired that I actually decided to put together a 6-week series of classes. And I kind of consider tonight the second session. Last week was sort of the first session, but you really don't need the first to jump in. Starting tonight, you'll be able to take action every week, and I really hope you will come back. I invite you to come back every week so we can dialogue in the chat box. We can do a little bit of live Q&A. Want to help you make progress in your business every single week for the next 6 weeks. So I'm calling this the Unstoppable Agent Series, and I'm calling this the second session. Because we have so many special guests and folks that I don't personally know yet, I'll do a brief introduction about myself. My name is Curtis Dixon. I am staff here with eXp Realty. I'm the Senior Vice President of Agent Development, which means that I get to spend all my time and energy on thinking about how to provide resources, training, education, and experiences that will help you build a better business and be a better real estate entrepreneur. My background, before I became staff at eXp, I ran an independent brokerage with a friend of mine here in San Antonio, Texas, trained hundreds of agents. We ran a top producing team in our city. And then in the last 2 years since I've been staff, I've had the pleasure of working with thousands of agents, created a lot of content, but I don't get to teach and coach as much now as I used to because I have a team of staff here at eXp that we call our eXp University team that runs all our training, coordinates our instructors, all that good stuff. So for the next 6 weeks, I'm going to be with you all. And the prompt for these classes, the reason I've called it the Unstoppable Agent is last week I decided to do a class on what I would do if I were starting over in real estate today. Knowing what I know now, the way that the world works now, what I've seen my wife go through as a newly licensed agent the last couple of years, right? Not what I did many, many years ago, although many of these things that I'm going to share with you all are things that I built my business on, but I'm going to adapt them to how I would get started now. And the first thing that I would do if I were starting now would be to brand myself. And so if I were branding myself an agent in my market, I would call myself the unstoppable agent. And my aim is to encourage you all to decide to be unstoppable as we go through tonight's course. So I'll consider that a brief introduction to tonight's session. I'll do a quick welcome. I always like to acknowledge and welcome, first off, any new agent. Give me a yes in the chat if you're a new agent in the house, less than a couple years of experience, new to the business, maybe new to eXp. Shout out to every single one of you, and congratulations, Solomon. Congratulations, Brooke. I love it. Just passed your exam, Melissa. Right on. Congrats. Huge opportunity, life-changing platform. And there are hundreds and thousands of buyers and sellers out there, and will be for generations to come, that need your guidance, your service, your support, your leadership. So new agents, congratulations on taking a big step. For our experienced agents, if you're an experienced agent at eXp, or you're experienced at other brokerages and just getting to eXp, I want to thank you for making time for some professional development on a Sunday night. I want to thank you for being in the house tonight. If there's anything that I talk about for my experienced agents that you want me to go deeper on, or you want to share something with the other agents in the audience, please use that chat box, because it's so powerful. It's one of the amazing things about eXp is that there might be a brand new licensee that's 2 weeks in now, like Alec, sitting right now next to a veteran like Sam Silver, right? And that's the cool thing about eXp, and you get to connect on this platform. And then last but not least, our special guests. So if you are a special guest, that means you are either currently licensed but not yet at eXp, or soon to be licensed and waiting to join eXp. So for our special guests, whether you end up at eXp or not, doesn't matter. We are all one industry, one family, and our mission should be to elevate this industry and elevate our service level to the consumers. So we are here to support you, our special guests, in any way we can, help you build and grow your business. All right. Since I spent a little time kicking this session off, I will not open up with a lot of questions in the chat box about your basic demographics, but instead, I'm going to make you think and share a little bit about what's going on for you right now. So I want to ask you a question, and I want you to type the answer in the chat box, and this is going to help me make tonight's session informative for you. I want you to answer one of these three questions, whichever one speaks to you tonight. What are you either best at, getting better at, or afraid to try? So you can say, Curtis, I'm best at phone conversations, cold calling. I'm best at lead generation. I'm best at being face-to-face with people. Or I'm getting better at letting people know I'm in real estate. I'm getting better at not being a secret agent. Or you know what? I'm really afraid to try something else. So I want to know who's in the room. I want to know what your challenges, your struggles, and your opportunities are. And while you fill in that, I will answer a couple of questions. So somebody asked a really great question. How do I know what the subject for each Sunday night is? It's a super great question, Tina, and I will apologize and take responsibility and credit. This Real Estate 101 session for the last probably year and a half has really not been, and even still to date, is not completely programmed or scripted. What we do with Real Estate 101 instead is we take it as an opportunity, kind of a laboratory, to bring some of our veteran agents in to share, because we have such a diverse audience on Sunday nights on a variety of topics. But what you can expect every single Sunday night is for the topic to be something about building your business, improving your sales pipeline, generation lead conversion, marketing, or operations. So we have a general framework that we keep our instructors within, and then we ask them to take it from there. So for the next 6 weeks, I will share the topics at the end of tonight with you all so that you know what the next 6 weeks look like. So appreciate you all sharing what you're working on, what you're trying to get better at. I see one that I'm really just going to hone in on for a minute, because I think it is the secret to everything in this business. And again, my prompt for the next 6 weeks is, if I were starting over from scratch, what would I do? I would build as many relationships with as many people as quickly as possible. So for the Tracy, I think, who said, I'm getting better at building relationships, or I'm best at building relationships. Congratulations. I hope each and every one of you will aspire and work in that direction, because that is the bottom line to short-term and long-term success in this business, is how many quality relationships you have in place and can build, right? Go Tracy. Okay, next question. Little different. What is the number one skill or tool that you need to add to your business in the next 90 days to achieve the level of success you're planning on achieving? Do you have a skill or tool? Is there something that's tricky, you're stuck, you're working on, etc., right? Is there a technology that's holding you back? Like what's keeping you from being where you want to be? And what I do plan to do, just so you all know, I may not be able to answer every question, may not be able to incorporate every comment here in the next 6 weeks. I want to take everything I get each night and I want to bring it back some way, shape, or form into the plan that I plan to share with you all and give you at least some guidance and direction, if not some actual how-tos and good working knowledge. So one thing you should also get used to about me, if you're going to spend the next 6 Sunday nights with me, is I am a huge fan of learning from different sources. Fits all in real estate, in any business, right? There's just not one single roadmap. So what I'm going to often do is direct you to some of my favorites. So if you want to ask about something that I personally am not proficient in, or I think there's great content out there, I'm going to direct you. Edward, I can see you're typing your test there in the chat box. So if you're wondering if it's working, it absolutely is. We just have a lot going on in the chat box and we're not answering each person yet, just individually, but we'll get to some Q&A as we go along. Because I see we're at 60 users and we started here at about 30, I'm going to drop the link to my slides in the chat box one more time. We are just getting to know each other, just kicking off, and we are right on schedule. I planned for about 40 minutes of content. I am recording. I am going to cover a lot. I do talk pretty fast. Take some notes and grab a link to the slide deck there, and then you can kind of go back as you need to. So the last thing I'm going to ask you all to make a decision right now is to decide to be an unstoppable force in your world. I want you to decide right now that you will be the real estate business owner. You will be the husband, spouse, wife, partner, friend, family member that just doesn't stop, just doesn't quit. You're unrelentless. Nothing can hold you back and keep you from moving forward, because for those of you that are just getting going in this business, you're going to run into a lot of roadblocks, a lot of obstacles, a lot of strong winds and currents pushing the other direction. But if you really absolutely are committed, then you've got to decide to be unstoppable. So give me a yes in the chat if you'll make that decision with me, because that's where we're going together the next 6 weeks. Perfect. All right. So let me recap session 1 a little bit. And I'm going to give you a link to a video here. And again, I'll give it to you at the end. So you have to remember where it is, but I just want to give it to you right now. I feel you, Randy. Beat up. That's all right. Beat up is okay. Stopping, not acceptable, right? Quitting, not acceptable. But we'll keep going. So let me tell you all what we talked about last week briefly. Again, the prompt for me had a little bit of freestyle opportunity. The prompt for me was, if I started over in real estate, what would I do, right? So what I first took the audience through or on was a journey through fears, beliefs, and eventually declarations. And the declarations, for all intents and purposes, can sort of serve as your early stage business plan. They are written, documented, declarative statements about where you're going and what you're going to achieve. And I'm going to go ahead and give you all a link to the video from last week. Don't watch it right now, but you can open it up on your browser. And I'm going to give you all a link to a little document that I shared with everybody last week. You'll notice I revised the title of it. I called it the Unstoppable Agent Progress Tracker. This is what we worked on last week. So I'll give you a link to the video. I'll give you the document. I'll give it to you all again at the end of class. You can save it on your computer. I encourage you to go watch it. But here's what we ended with last week in terms of declarations. We wrote out declarative statements. We picked a date. We selected a number of what we called progress trackers that we worked on last week. And then we had some goals. And I'm not a big fan of teaching and coaching on something that I haven't done, am not doing, or working on at the moment, right? So I try to do whatever it is that I'm talking about. So what I decided to do was I inspired myself to take some action last week. And while I'm not rebuilding a real estate business actively, I have a lot of other reasons to build relationships, to complete these progress trackers, and a lot of other ways that I can make a difference in different people's worlds. So I decided to take some action. So I declared that by December 31st of this year, I will complete 13 progress trackers, and I'll have 5,000 new relationships in my database. Now, my relationships aren't exactly like yours in real estate. I'm talking about followers and subscribers and different people that I can impact and agents that I can reach, et cetera, right? But I'm going to get there. And then the second declaration that everybody worked through last week was an earning declaration. By December 31st, I will have earned X dollars, and I will have saved 30% of that amount to invest back into my business. So it was a savings and investment declaration. And then the third one was, who we needed to show up as to achieve these goals. So I'm telling you all who I will need to be. I will need to be an energy version of myself that I call light. I will need to be belief. I will need to be precision to achieve my big goals. So I'll share again last week's presentation. If you want to go back through it, you'll see that what we talked about last week was making progress weekly. So for anybody who was here last week, about 5 or 10 of you all, right, we started talking about things you can make, things you can take, things you can give, and things you can find. And if you go back and watch and look through that progress tracker, I told everybody here that if you wanted to achieve significant progress in your real estate business, you needed to make 50 conversations happen every week. 50. Let me ask, has anybody made 50 conversations happen since last Sunday? Yes, in the chat if you did. It is a lot, Melissa. Absolutely is. Randy's made 50 conversations happen. Way to go, Randy. Randy, yes or just a yes or no in the chat. Have you done that before? And does it produce ridiculous results to Randy? That's a per week goal, Matthew. And I'm talking about high level of progress week over week. So look, don't be discouraged, right? That was why we did the fears and the beliefs conversation. Make as many as you can, but have a goal of 50. I told everybody that I would make 2 presentations a week, no matter what, every single week, if I were trying to make ridiculous progress in real estate. And I told everybody that I would make 5 videos every single week. And Randy confirmed, and as a experienced producing agent that's run a team and run a brokerage myself, I can tell you it's all about what you make happen every week, right? That's the only stuff that happens. Very few things happen to you in real estate. You make things happen in real estate, right? And in business and in life. And so we talked about making conversations, presentations, and videos. Then we talked about taking. We talked about taking tours and previews, and we talked about training. I'm not going through all of last week right now. I'm just giving you a quick recap. Again, go back and watch last week. It'll encourage you. It'll tell you what to do. It'll push you. It'll guide you. We'll give you a little tracker. Randy just took a $1.2 million listing. Randy had 50 conversations since last Sunday. Who else wants to do that, right? Yes, in the chat, if you'd like to take the next $1.2 million listing in your market. 50 conversations. Yes, right, Melissa? So the beliefs, right? You got to break through those to what you actually have to do to make that progress, right? Okay, so that was all last week's stuff. Again, I'm going to give you last week's take progress tracker, and I'm going to give you last week's video in the chat one more time, okay? Just in case you didn't open it on your web browser. Again, don't go watch it right now. Please go watch it later next week, but you can go back and watch. All right? Okay. So now, session 2, tonight's for the next 40 minutes. Now I'm going to call this session practice. What do we actually have to practice to be able to do all that stuff that we're preparing to do? If you're going to make 50 conversations, who in the world are you going to talk to, and how and what are we going to talk about? If you're going to make 5 videos, Curtis, what in the world are we talking about, right? So I'm going to take you a little deeper during this session here. And if I can get through a little bit quicker, and I promised last week, so I'll do it again tonight, I'll hang for about 15 minutes of Q&A. So we will run until about 9:15 Central Time for anybody who wants to stick around. So take as many notes and listen, and then be ready with your questions at the end. Okay, so for session 2, we're going to go deeper into conversations, presentations, and videos. We're going to go deeper into conversations, presentations, and videos. What I'll ask Sam if you do is wait till we get to the Q&A portion. That way we don't have people's questions and links and people scrolling back up. Certainly can share a tool when we get to that Q&A portion, if you will. So let's get everybody thinking the right way first, and then we'll inspire people to some action. So we're going to talk conversations, presentations, and videos tonight. And I gave you a simple framework for thinking about each of these things. Now, actually, let me pause here. Let me go back. Is anybody familiar with the 70-20-10 learning model? 70-20-10. Here's what it states. And correct me if I'm wrong, Nalia. This may be my adaptation of it, right? But in short, Laura and Cynthia, in short, here's what it means, right? When it comes to learning, most of us tend to think that if we learn it in like a classroom like this, we've got it, Now we just have to go apply it, right? That's what people say all the time. Here's what the 70-20-10 model says. 70% of learning is actually you doing the work. 70% of learning is you actually doing the work. Sounds crazy, right? You're like, but I'm here to learn, Curtis. And you're telling me that I'm not learning? I'm just kind of listening and taking in some information? Well, let me keep going. 20% of learning comes from you being coached, mentored, guided, or supported, right? So 20% of the work comes from your dialogue with others, your practice, your rapport, your role playing, your conversations, right? 20%. And 10% comes through classroom learning like this, right? So you're going to notice at the end of each one of these sections, I give you the work. Now, in tonight's class, I'm only giving you enough work to last you between tonight and next Sunday. And I'm not going into tons of detail. I'm not giving you the 20%. I'm giving you the 10% because you have to go out and try it, do it, fail at it, learn from it, do it again.